because you wear shorts during this time of year?
Yeah, I figured that out on Sunday. I was like, you know what? I'm done wearing shorts because every time I get in the car, I'm just super cold. So I'm just gonna wear pants. Every time it's cold out.
I'm done.
I'm not a big fan of pants because later in the day it gets super hot out.
I'm not a fan of pants because I look dumb in pants.
I'm not a
I
fan
feel
of
that too.
pants because I don't like the staticky feeling that it leaves on my legs sometimes.
Pants leave a staticky feeling. That's what this brand of shirt does.
Yeah, what is that made of?
It's like that exercise material.
Yep,
You know?
that exercise material, like the it's like workout.
Yeah,
Are they called joggers? What's the word
Yeah.
for
No,
them?
joggers.
Sweatpants.
Yeah.
No, sweatpants. I hate wearing those because, listen, I'm a guy. I got hairy legs.
Yeah.
Some guys don't. That's why I'm specifying.
Yeah.
And so
Shivers.
I feel that, and then it gets all staticky on my legs because it makes contact with my hair bristles.
Yeah.
And then it connects and it just stays there, and I hate that feeling because like you almost like peel it off and you can hear it going.
Oh, like the static.
The little
yeah,
static,
that's what this
yeah.
does. Yeah. Or
It's
when
the
I take
worst.
when I take my jacket off and I have
Yeah.
this under it, it makes like a static. I'm like, I'm gonna get shocked if I touch anything metal.
So that raises the question: why are you wearing it?
Because it's comfortable.
Okay.
It's really comfortable. It's super breathable. It's
Well,
because we live in a hot state. Come on.
We do.
Like, yeah. So I like wearing like the most comfortable clothes possible without looking like a doofus. Because there are people that flat out come in like their pajamas and whatnot.
to school, dude. I come out
That's
wearing a
happened
fur
before.
trapper hat half the time now.
Hey, that's completely different. Hats are completely different.
I feel like it's also, and if you're trying to be purposely goofy versus like you're being goofy and you don't even realize it. Like, because when I wear
that's
that
the best
hat,
kind of goofy.
when I wear that fur trapper hat, I know for a fact that I'm coming off as like a fool. You know,
Yeah.
buffoonery. I understand because it doesn't necessarily go with my clothing. It's
Yeah.
also not an actual fur trapper hat. It's a costume item I got from Spirit 3 years ago
Of course.
that I still use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite type of clothing goofy is Tyler, the creator.
Yeah.
You've seen the stuff he wears. He wears like that fur trapper hat, but it was the Russian, like actual Soviet hat with a star on it, and it was white and fluffy. Then he was wearing a big like fur coat, and it was white. And then he had like gold teeth on the bottom, and then pink on the top. And then his hair was polka dots.
I wonder what he's
It's-
doing nowadays.
Like I'm not even kidding. Like there was circles of hair, and then he was shaved in between, so it was like polka dots. Not completely shaved. There was still hair there, but you know.
And was it crazy for the point of being crazy?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's nice.
He doesn't take himself serious.
What's he doing these days?
Everything.
Everything.
Making music, making clothes, making ice cream.
Has he
making,
started directing
Making ice
it?
cream.
I don't know.
That's like the next step.
Honestly, that's the final step for Tyler, because he basically does everything. Basically.
I remember.
And all on his own, too.
I remember thinking to myself
Open
about
it,
the
it's
fact.
locked.
Damn.
Thought we were just talking.
No, it's always rolling, folks.
I'm assuming you're gonna vote when you get the. Wait, are you?
Yes.
18? Are you 18?
I'm not 18 yet, I'm currently
Well, me and
17.
Caden will be able to vote in this
But
upcoming
the question
one.
is, I know you are because you seem like you're more political. But Chris, are you gonna be voting?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, you okay?
I feel like it's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those things like you should even
Just
if
do it.
you're not very politically active. There's so few places that you actually get the privilege of voting that you should take advantage of the fact that you have it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're voting for literally the most powerful person on the planet.
Yeah.
Wasn't the most powerful set of people the judicial branch? No, which one keeps the president in line?
Executive.
Last year's election last election was doo-doo.
Yeah.
Like throwing out an independent that's a waste of a vote kind of thing. Like I always have those thoughts, but it's like, it's
Yeah.
an hour out of your day.
We are
Throw
Well,
a
the
vote.
thing is, if you
Podcast.
register independent, that means you can vote like from all sides rather than assigning to a political party, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
it depends on where what state you're in. Do you mean like primaries or what do you mean?
Like you
during
can't
the
vote in
general election?
primaries, right?
Yeah, so in the general election, no matter what you registered as, you can vote for any candidate that's up.
Yeah.
So like if I register as an independent, I can vote for a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. Or if I register as a Democrat, I can vote for a Republican or an independent or a Democrat. You can vote for whoever. Primaries, because we don't have open primaries in the state of Arizona, it means if you register as a Democrat, you cannot vote in the Republican primary, and vice versa. If you register as an independent, you can't vote in either.
Mhm.
Only people who are
Part of the party.
Yes, subscribe to the party are allowed to actually vote in those primaries.
What?
Yeah. So that is
Yeah.
why I'm registering as a Republican.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I don't necessarily share. I'm very much more to the left side of the political spectrum, like socially, very much so, economically speaking, very much so. Foreign policy is about the only area. Even then, though, I'm pretty much definitely liberal there. But I want to register as a Republican, so I have the option of voting in their primaries. Because chances are the Democrats will nominate somebody that I'll be fine voting for. The Republicans, on the other hand, will nominate someone that I might not be too keen on voting for. So I want to vote on the candidate that I think is the most fit for me to have that option of voting for.
That's
so
actually really smart.
Exactly. That's why I would, if I register as a Republican, I'll actually be able to vote for people that I think like, okay, yeah, this Republican I would be fine voting for if they won if they won the party nomination, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I vote for them, because like the Democratic side, it's like, well, so I'd be fine with X, Y, B, all these, right?
Mm-hmm.
A, B, C, or D. But on the Republican side, I might be not so keen on A, B, C, but D, sure.
So take someone like me, right?
Mhm.
I'm not into politics like at all.
Yeah, but you're also like 15, right?
16.
You're 16 now?
How-
Like still.
You just
Yeah. How
You
would
know, my sister was
So
15,
basically,
whatever.
you're not there yet.
How
Yeah.
would you inform somebody like me, right?
Huh.
Like, what would I use to get informed properly
Properly?
on both?
Well,
political
that's the thing,
spectrums?
though.
you're not going to properly get informed about anything.
Exactly.
I
Well, yeah, that's the
my
problem.
opinion,
That's
because
normal media
that's
is
exactly
such a
why.
problem.
Because media, when it comes to politics, it's always very
Yeah.
biased on
Oh, yeah.
either side
It's
of
a
the spectrum,
problem.
and you're never going to find a middle ground.
I
when it comes to
disagree.
it.
I disagree
Why so?
strongly.
I want to
How
hear
so?
you.
I
and then
disagree
I'll-
strongly because there's sources like AP News or
Oh,
Reuters.
there are some sources, but you
Yeah.
got Fox News, you're not going to
I
get the
know-
most reliable
the,
information.
the sources that everyone uses on a daily basis, like where I would get my news from, or where most people will get their news from, are sources that are very biased and not very good ways to get informed about these
And I
things.
guess there's a difference between bias and just bad information.
Yeah.
And before I go on that point, Chris, you were trying to say something.
So, I agree with the chaos that is the internet, and that people are misinformed very instantaneously
Every day.
and all the time.
Yeah.
So, while that influence is always there and it's impossible to sift through, I take the more chaotic approach to receiving my media. I just consume it all.
Neutral.
I just
yeah.
take everything in, and then I just run it down and go through it all, and then what was said the most is the truth, or at least defined the most between all sources.
Well, what about
Yeah.
what is most
Defined,
similar
but
to
that's a
each
good way to
other?
say it. That's a good way to put it.
Wouldn't it
Defined
be-
the most, because you'll have biases from both sides, and you'll see, oh, they left this out of there and this out of there. Those might be rumors, but the stuff that they agree on, the stuff that everyone is consistent about, and it always explains it the same way, that's the hard truth. Then after that, you have to go to the outliers, the stuff that was only said by this side, and the stuff that was only said by this side. Then you have to go into both of those, tear them down, find evidence. It's a whole process.
Yeah, like, especially for me during the impeachment inquiries, it was really interesting to read multiple news sites about the proceedings and everything and their take on it, because some of them are like, oh, the Republicans are so winning this, the Democrats don't have any debates, and some are completely the opposite. And it's just really interesting how people can see the exact same event and take away such different perspectives
Or
from
even
it.
someone cannot see a certain piece of information, like that whole thing that blew up with Iran and everything like that. Everyone
Oh,
was
yeah.
getting all this different information, and then in the end it was like, we're all just freaking stupid, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
just
we were always
misinformed.
all going to be fine.
Yeah, no, but we were just all, everyone was misinformed, and so people took it into their own hands, and then it blew up. It was just, that's how it affects everything.
And then Nick shaved his head because he thought he was going to get drafted.
Yeah. Okay, so, see, I don't think it's as easy, right? Because take something, like, say I want to get into dinosaurs. I just open up a dinosaur book, and the dinosaurs are right there.
But you
Yeah,
can
but-
open up plenty of books on politics.
Yeah.
But it's like they're all biased to some extent, aren't they?
So,
There's not a book. I don't think there's like a
But
definitive book
any-
that's like
any book
X
is
goes
just-
to Y to Z.
Any
It's-
book that is trying to inform you on something is always biased to a certain extent. It just might not be as biased.
Like
as
even
another.
What about a
dinosaur
book-
books, how did they go
Even
extinct?
dinosaur.
you know?
Exactly.
I don't see
Everything has
a
a
dinosaur
bias.
book. That's that. I don't think that has
So
a
okay,
bias.
there's I want to say that there's a difference here, and I really don't like using the dinosaur analogy,
Yeah.
trying to compare that
I was
to
gonna
politics.
say I
Yeah.
could have another example.
Okay.
Okay,
What's
give
your
us your
example?
example.
Well, if we're talking about biases and how to like dissect them, I
Yeah.
like to dive into the conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones and really like hear what they're saying, because some of the stuff they say actually is true, just blown out of proportion. Like, for example, Alex Jones turning the frogs gay. That's actually true. There was a company dumping chemicals into a pond nearby, and it changed the chemical makeup of the frogs sexually, so they were actually attracted to their male counterparts instead of the female frogs in the pond.
Caden's face is
So
just like,
so while he did tell the truth, it was not on the global spectrum that he was explaining
He's
it
being
to be.
hyperbolic.
They were not dumping gay juice into the oceans. They were just pouring their chemicals into a pond nearby illegally, and it was messing with the wildlife in the area.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and I say, do yourself a favor and try never to dive into conspiracy theorist realm of any political spectrum.
Exactly.
Because it's no. I feel like I don't even have to explain that.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Never take it seriously.
Yeah.
Never.
But so my other thing here though, and I want to go back to that thing I'd said earlier with good information versus bad information. So we always talk about there being a little bit of bias.
Yeah.
And I want to run with the notion that the only reason we say that there's a ton of bias is because we're getting it from one news source talking about another. Fox is always going to tell you that MSNBC is biased, right? Or MSNBC?
MSNBC.
MSNBC
Yeah,
is
yeah.
biased.
And
And
National Broadcasting.
MSNBC is going to say that Fox is biased. And truth be told, yes, they both are. But you're taking two news sources that are literally built to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Mouthpieces for a political side, right? Fox is literally just Republican propaganda. MSNBC is literally just liberal propaganda. But however, truth be told, there are many more news websites out there that are purely about reporting. Not about like, okay, what is our general take on this? It's just AP News style, like AP News, the one source I brought up earlier, where you go on, you read any of their articles, it's like, here's what's happening. Here's what Democrats say. Here's what Republicans say. Done. That's the whole deal.
And see, that's
Problem
what
is,
that's what I've
that's
been
what all
looking
news
for.
should be.
That's, well, no, not necessarily all news, because then you can have opinion
Political
style
news.
reporting.
Well, yes, obviously,
These are, but they're not opinion style
you're-
reporting.
If your opinions are stated as facts, then, and I'm gonna be real with you, these sites are really great and everything, like AP News and all that, but
Mhm.
no one is reading them. No one,
That
no one that
they're reading
isn't-
big.
you know,
They're reading.
they're reading
big
Fox,
Well,
they're reading
here's-
CNN, they're reading
Fox.
MSNBC.
Yeah.
But the bigger irony of it is that the fact that AP News gets cited a lot by those big news agencies.
Yeah.
Fox always goes straight from AP News and they'll read it.
Yeah.
CNN or
Yeah, but
whatever.
they'll pick out the
But
pieces
then
that
it gives
they
Yeah.
people
like.
more of the reason not to go to them because they're like, oh, like we already have this
Yeah.
information and they already gave us the information, so why?
And
why-
people like when people tell them what they want to hear. And that's always going to be true. You know, if you don't want to have your ideas challenged, you're going to go to a site that conforms to your ideals.
Mhm.
So that's why these biased sites exist and thrive, really. It's because they're appealing to that confirmation bias, you know, almost. Like, and that's why they're always going to be more popular than straight facts. Because not everyone, most people don't want to hear things that go against what they believe. You know, like, people that are just kind of going along. I
These
don't want
sites
to
are
say.
conforming to their own opinions. That's
Yes.
why they.
Exactly. So they're popular because of the exact reason why they shouldn't exist, you know?
Kind of, yeah.
See, reading a political article,
Okay, wait.
it's
No, what is your standpoint on this? Being 15, like
He's 16, Bella.
Okay, I am 16 too, but I've been
Yeah,
very
whatever,
into politics
whatever,
for a very
go
long
ahead, go
time.
ahead, go
Like,
ahead.
where is your perspective on all of this? Like,
Well, yeah,
on the
no.
political spectrum.
Going back to
Well,
your
no,
original
not-
Oh, okay.
yeah.
No, going back to your original question when you were asked, like, if I were to dive into it, how would I do it? What would you, like, take from
Well,
the scene?
see, I wanted to expand on that because I feel like
Yeah.
I didn't mean. I don't want to necessarily say biased. How do I know when like a specific news outlet is not flat out either lying or attacking somebody's character by saying something that's incorrect? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like this is AP News just telling me straight facts. And another thing, like what I was about to say. So like political articles, right? They are so boring to read because I literally don't get what's going on. There's not like a recap or like a timeline. They don't give me like a timeline of events. It's like, oh, you have to know what happened last time to.
Because you need more context.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It's like reading a book, or it's like reading the 5th book in like
Harry Potter.
Yeah, sure. I've never read Harry Potter, but yeah, or like watching Star Wars: The Last Jedi. If you haven't seen like the last 7 of them, you see what I mean? It's like, where exactly is that starting point?
Yeah. So my other thing there was that actually goes perfectly into the next point I was going to make, which is you're going to have to take anything that's any piece of news that's happened in the last 24 hours with a grain of salt. Because here's our thing, right? And we're going to tie this all in, I swear. Let's go back 200 years ago, right? News reporting solely based on paper. Mm-hmm. It had its own issues back then. There wasn't a lot of standards. There was obviously biased
Yellow
reporting.
journalism.
Yeah, yellow journalism, you name it. However, here's the thing. In order to get information out, it took time.
Yeah.
So you had time to go, okay, let's figure out what here. If you were trying to report factually, you had time to gather all that information, let it settle before that news completely breaks, right? Nowadays, we expect information like that. So that's why when you go on, the one I like to use, for example, is the British Broadcasting Centre. They'll have news, it'll be breaking news. It tells you what happened, like passenger airliner down, 64 dead. You click on it and it says, come back later for more information.
Yeah.
So the thing I'm about to get into here is the fact that we're moving so quickly. We're making stories so quick. When you see something like that, give it a day or two for everything to settle. Because if you try to read any story that's happened within 24 hours, it's going to be piece of thing here that's not quite verified yet. We're still trying to figure out what's happening here. Come back later, right?
Yeah.
When given time, news stations will usually be able to have now the full story, and they're able to recap everything for you. CNN does a great job of that, to give them credit. Where you go through and it basically says, if you don't know where we're at right now, here's a recap of what's happened before, and just bullet point like how this started, what happened the next day, what's happening today, right? That's what you're looking for. So give it time to settle out, and then you'll actually be able to find those things like, all right, what's the timeline of what's happening here? But also, there's a second part to this, which is the fact that, like, the biggest way you can keep yourself in the know of, like, how things, like, work, like, you're reading a story and you're like, I don't know what the hell's happening here, and here. Go out and learn about it. And what I mean by that is when you step foot into the political world, right?
Yeah.
When you're just like, okay, like, this senator, I hear his name a lot, who's he, right? Or this thing that they're talking about, why is our government always talking about the budget spending? What the hell's budget spending? What are we on about? Go look into that. So the next time it happens, you'll be like, oh, I know what Congress is trying to vote on right now. Oh, I know what this whole controversy is. You know, why the hell is healthcare being talked about again, right? It's because I've read all these past things. I've looked into it myself. I've done independent research, and that just makes you more adapt to, like, looking at those articles when they come out just like that and being like, all right, I know this piece, I know this piece, I know this piece.
And then it's also like you can't really have an understanding of it, or you can't really form your own opinion on it if you don't know the context of it and you don't know not even the information, or don't know what's being talked about.
And
the longer you are, like, aware of this kind of stuff, like, it comes with time too, you know, like, when you're first starting to pay attention to politics, like, nothing makes sense. And for a lot of people, that probably drives them away from it, but the thing is, if you just keep paying attention, stuff will make more sense.
Yes.
You know, because
you'll
know
exposure.
more, and then you'll just get more information. Especially as seniors, we took Gov, or you're taking Gov, or whatever, you know.
Even
that
taking
helps a lot.
newspaper.
Yeah, even in newspaper, we've learned a lot about what's happening.
That's why I started paying attention to politics, was because of journalism.
What if you take somebody that doesn't want to get into politics?
Well,
Okay.
look at it this way. For you, I would say anybody getting into politics is not going to be, or shouldn't be, forming and or speaking their opinions out the gate.
Yeah.
It won't happen. You shouldn't do that, because
you shouldn't have an opinion
when
until
you're
you know.
learning
generally
about what you believe and what you should think and how reactions to certain situations should happen, you're not going to have the answer right away. You're going to instantly see all of this and be, well, if it's happening, then should it be happening? Like, you have to go through the process. So it's a long process. That's what people have to understand. You can't just hop online, read a couple articles, post about it on Twitter, and then you're obviously woke. No, that's not how it works. You have to take the time, do the research, and then, that's just how it is. It's going to take some time. And that's the only way to explain it.
You need to be okay with not knowing right now. You need to be okay struggling with it.
And if the whole idea of it, like, sets you off, like, you don't have to be, like, super into politics. Like, no one's making you. You just have to be informed enough to where when you're voting, you know what you're voting for.
Or understand enough to form your own opinion on it and to know where you stand and to know what you think.
Like, you don't have to be on top of it all the time, you know?
Yeah. Here's the other thing, and I want to add to this, right? There's an irony in everything we're telling you right now. Because as true as it is, like, yes, form your own opinion, right? Go out there, find your information, and make, like, your own viewpoint, your own standpoint on it, completely unbiased, right? The fact is, though, like, I'm sitting here, and I've already said earlier, like, I'm definitely far left on the political spectrum, 100%, right?
But you're also 17, right?
Well, I'm 17, but here the point I'm going to make is the fact that I literally do everything I tell you not to. Like, I look at a story that comes out, and my mind immediately is, what do the Republicans do this time? Like, that's just what goes through my head.
Yeah.
Because that's my mindset. That's what I've lived with,
do
right?
as I say, not as I do.
It's exactly, right? It's literally hardwired into the way I think, you know?
Yeah.
I am biased as hell when it comes to certain things.
As
Because of my background, when Israel does something really, this is the political thing. Israel and the West Bank, right? I always side with Israel because of my family history, right?
Yeah.
That's just how I live, you know? So, and the whole thing about, like, going out finding news sources that, you know, you can know and trust, right? I 100% on any day of the week, if you gave me an MSNBC article or Fox article, knowing full well that both of these are going to be entirely biased sources, I'm going to choose MSNBC. I will.
Okay.
Because I know if I go to the Fox one, I know what it's going to tell me. I know what it's going to say. And I know what MSNBC is going to tell me. I know what it's going to say. But there's going to be one that makes me happier. That's just how it works.
Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. You know, like, these sites are biased for a reason. It's because people like to hear what they already believe.
Yeah. And but that's the thing, though. You can find, this goes back to what you just said at the beginning, you can totally find sources that are quote-unquote unbiased, right? You can totally find your AP News out there. You can totally find your Reuters. You can, I'm going to say Time Magazine, but I feel that they're relatively good with their reporting, even though they're considered a little bit more right. But, yeah, you're going to be able to see that, right? You're going to be able to see, like, quality reporting, as it's put.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to be able to sit back and be like, I'm going to give myself time, and I'm also going to give the news cycle time, right?
And you also have to realize that the people that you are around all the time will affect what your opinions on the political spectrum. Your parents are going to affect
100%.
your opinions on any spectrum when it comes to politics or the president or anything like that. Like, I formed a lot of my opinions because of my parents, and like, they change because of what you personally believe, but it's always going to have an effect on you.
Yeah.
And a little enforcement on that is that while everything is affecting you in the political spectrum, everything around you, you also have to know that your ideologies, your everything is going to change constantly. Because if I laid out my political beliefs from, like, when I was 5 years younger, they would be completely different from what they are today.
Exactly.
I am all over the place when it comes, like, personally, politically, I am everywhere on every single decision because I like to be very, like, adamant about certain decisions. I despise the political spectrum for how extreme everyone is. You have to be this. You have to believe this if you're this. Like, if you're a Democrat and you don't support this Democratic decision, then you're a traitor. And if you're a Republican and you don't support this Republican decision, you're a traitor. It's like, why do I have to dedicate my life to one side when I can make decisions based on each situation, not just who is spewing the most garbage, which political figure is telling me what to do. Oh, I'll side with them because they're blue. It's like, I hate that in the political spectrum. Every situation is different. everything has a gray area. There is no black and white, and it's constantly going to change.
That's why I genuinely hate the two-party system, because it really forces people, because like it's people's natural instinct to choose a side over another and then always stick with their side. Like that's how people exist. Like
have the two parties. Like,
I don't know. Like I
That's
can't.
like-
I'm not saying I know an alternative. you
Yeah.
know, I'm not that smart, but I'm just saying like there are so many problems with it.
There's a lot of good things that come from the two-party system. There's a lot of bad things, and there's a huge gray area between those two things.
Yeah.
But less and less people are acknowledging it, or at least it feels that way. I feel like
It's just a lot of shouting over a lot of consistent talking. There will be people talking, and then there will be people online screaming, and I feel like people should take their political information from conversations and not shouting matches or random hit articles or anything like that.
So say I watch somebody like I don't just want to clarify. So say I watch somebody like Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro. Would you say those are both reliable news sources or no? Because they are perspectives.
Yeah, they're perspectives, but I think there's a difference between like a perspective and a news source. Because like as far as I'm aware, and I don't watch either of them, Ben Shapiro doesn't go around like reporting the news. He'll give you a take on like a recent story. Is that
I have no clue.
So yeah, and
No,
I
yeah.
just don't. But like, there's also obviously like if you're gonna get your news from one person, no matter who that is, that in itself is dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I would describe it as, and that's why I use the word dangerous, and I use that in basically every sense of the word, right? Because you should never be able to get your opinion from solely one person. Like that shouldn't be something that you go out to do. Because I know we always talk about it, like, oh, go to source X, go to source, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
You just have to be like naturally exposed to a little bit of everything, right? Yeah. But even with that exposure, you'll notice like you're like, oh, I already know like what I'm gonna think about this going into it,
Yeah, and there's a big difference between a public figure and a politician. Ben Shapiro, all those guys, and not just the right-wing YouTubers, but also the left-wing ones, all those guys, they are public figures. They have fans. They do not have supporters. They are not politicians. They don't control anything. They just spew whatever garbage they want because they have a platform to do it on. So I watch them and I take into account of what they have to say, unfortunately, but because you have to. But obviously I'm not going to stan him or be like, oh, what he said was correct, I'm going to source him. It's like, no one's going to source
commentary.
No one's going to source a YouTuber.
Exactly.
Did you know my wife's a doctor? You know Ben Shapiro says that?
Yeah, he does some of that. And then his sister's hot.
And I would also say, going kind of off that point, if you hear a politician speak versus like a public figure, a politician is actually like in the mud and gunk of everything going on in politics, and originally that makes it sound like I'm trying to say like, oh, that you can't trust them, right?
No,
But no, what I'm about to go into is the fact that a politician is going to make certain decisions that public figures or anyone can jump on. But that's because we don't live in that same world that they do. Like, they're in the thick of everything. They know certain decisions are going to affect things in a positive or a negative way, and not everyone's going to like that. Or that something that, yes, like, okay, theoretically, we want, all of us want this to happen, but you learn fairly quickly once you've stepped foot in the arena that, like, oh, wait, I can't do that. Like, sure, I ran on that platform that I was going to cut taxes, but now that I actually have the budget spread out in front of me, I can't keep that promise. If I want to keep us alive, literally.
Yeah. This is why I stick to movies and
Uh-huh.
television.
And that also goes back, that's why I don't like public figures as much, is because they don't have the insight that a politician would. They don't know what's going on. Like,
That's like a second-hand source.
they don't have the maybe like not classified information, but information that hasn't been released yet, or laws that have been signed but they haven't made an announcement about it yet. Like, they have the know-how, while these public figures are just spewing into the media or whatever outlet they have, and just having these fans brainwashed and just hearing what they already know over and over again to them because that's what they want to hear. That's why public figures aren't the best source of information.
Wow, okay, that was a long conversation.
Still talking about politics.
But